Hi, let's talk about reviewing the profit and loss report. So, in the last lesson, we talked about how to run a profit and loss and the basic format of the profit and loss report. And we know that a profit and loss report is just a picture of your profit in a certain period or loss. But let's talk about sort of navigating around the report, what you should be looking at each month when you come in to run this report. It is very important as a business owner that you're in touch with this report and all of the activity on the report because you are the business owner. You know, you're the most in touch with what's been going on in your business. So even if you have somebody preparing your books, doing this for you, you still want to come in and always review these reports and look at the numbers in detail because you might be able to catch errors that no one else can. So let's just start from the beginning. We're looking at the income section first. And the way that I like to review the profit and loss report is to look at each of the main totals and kind of go through the detail there. So again, we're in a profit and loss report, which is a year-to-date report. We've run it this year to last month. We're running it by month, and we've chosen our accounting method. So we have this report pulled up. And then I want to go down to the first main section, which is income. And I just like to look at it in total. So I'll click on the total income number here directly, and then I get a detail of all of the income across the various accounts for the year. Now, you may also just want to review this report each month, so you might just be looking in at the total income for the month, and that's great too. But if you're sort of coming in trying to get an overall picture of the year, you would look at it for the year. So let's just do that for this example. So now we can start to look through the data. We're seeing the income laid out again by account. We're also seeing the different types of transactions that are within each account. And we can start to just sort of see if this, high level, if everything looks good. So things that we might look for, we want to look at the type of transaction. So if you're in an income account and you see an expense, that would be kind of unusual. So you might want to look into that. So you would see it as a negative number, for example. Or you might see some income that looks like it's in the wrong account type. Or maybe the amount looks weird to you, or maybe you see some duplicates as you're coming through and reviewing. So you can really catch a lot of errors as you're just sort of scrolling down and looking at the income in various accounts. You may also think that some invoices are missing, certain numbers look a little low. So just, use your knowledge of what's happened in the business and review the income items and just see if you can catch any errors. You can also just understand the activity and you get information here about, different service lines or product lines, how well they've performed. So very good to look at this total income number. Then let's go back to the report summary here. I'm just clicking on that little text at the top. And then I like to look at the next main section, which is cost of goods sold. And I can again look at that for the year just by clicking on the number. And you can see all of the cost of goods sold. In this case, this is a product business. So just same thing you were doing in income, and the sample account doesn't have much, but you would look at all of the various accounts, different cost of goods sold accounts, make sure the expenses look correct. A big thing you might be looking at here is, are these in fact all cost of goods sold, or do you have some overhead expenses that are mixed in here? Or maybe you're missing some expenses, some cost of goods sold expenses. Maybe they look a little light and maybe they're sitting down in the overhead section. So that's kind of a big thing that I'm looking at when I review cost of goods sold. But again, you're looking for anything unusual. You're just sort of, validating the numbers and making sure things are in the right place. So let's go back out to the main report. And then we're going to look at total expenses. We can scroll down here, click on this number here. And same thing, we're getting a listing of the detail of every expense within each account. And we can start to notice errors. A big thing that I'm usually doing in here when I'm reviewing is looking to see if things are in the right place. So maybe you have, this isn't actually an advertising expense. This should be legal and professional fees, or, whatever it is. You can just look to see if the expenses look like they're in the right categories. You can also check for weird transaction types. Maybe you see an invoice in here somehow, or some sort of transaction that just shouldn't be there. So again, just using your best knowledge of your business and making sure things look like they're in the right place. One other thing I might look for here are asset purchases. So if you have a large purchase over $2,500, that should typically be categorized as a fixed asset. So you might look in, oftentimes it would be in office supplies. You might see a large purchase of a computer or something like that that needs to be classified as an asset. So that might be something I would be looking at as I look down through these accounts. And then let's go back out. Always take a look at your net income numbers and just kind of understand what's happening with that activity. Are you seeing nice growth? Maybe, the number is increasing each month, so that's obviously a good sign. Or you're seeing a downward trend, that would be something you might be concerned about. And you always want to check your numbers. So if you did see a downward trend in your income, maybe you just want to pop back up here and see, did all my income get categorized correctly? Or, are there, is there any sort of error that's happening that might be causing that? That's the first thing you might want to think about. And then if everything looks correct to you, then just sort of understanding what that trend is and if there's anything you can do about it, essentially. The last thing I like to look at as I'm reviewing the profit and loss is I like to look across the months and look for anything unusual. So you can always compare in each line item, you can compare across the months and see, is there some unusual trend? So maybe you're, let's say down here in advertising expenses, and everything's sort of trucking along around the $500 range, and then all of a sudden you have a $2,000 month for advertising. So all that would mean is you just want to think through that. Is this an expense that you expected? Maybe you just signed on with a new firm. That's totally expected. Or maybe something accidentally got duplicated, so that's incorrect. You need to fix that error. So really you're just looking for anything unusual and then thinking through it. Is there anything you can do about it, or did you completely expect that that was going to happen? So that's the most important thing about spending time in this profit and loss, is just understanding the detail, thinking through what happened in your business, and then noticing any unusual trends and thinking through what happened to cause that trend. So a lot of information here. You can really be in touch with your business by going through this report. So make sure you do that monthly.